Okay, the moment we've all been waiting for. Cam James' video has dropped. The Young Turks, A Throne for Fake Progressives by Cam James. I am so excited to finally watch this. I've been watching reactions all day long. Not really, I've been busy, but I did watch Vanguard react to it already, so I've seen a tiny bit of it. I know he's used some of my film. I'm the guy making Tell the Truth Cenk. I almost said tellthetruthcenk.com. That is the website. The documentary about the battle for workplace dignity at the home of progressives. The 84 minutes can be watched right now. Go to the website for that, or here on Winners and Losers on YouTube. I'm also working on a second, like a small 20-minute documentary based on Cenk's Jubilee appearance, so I put up a video. But you can find the January update about the project. I made it my channel trailer. Shouldn't be hard to locate because we're ramping up production here in 2026 to finally get this demonic baby out of my womb. My uterus just can't take it anymore. I'm exhausted. I am just done. I'm just totally done. Okay, need to get past this stuff. But holy shit, though, Cam James just blew the lid wide open on this. I decided to name him the Sunlight Bringer for some reason. I'm in a real Game of like Lord of the Rings kind of mood here. Oh, here's my my reply. Oh, good. I wrote on his video. Thank you for bringing attention to the documentary, Cam. I haven't watched yet, but wanted to express my gratitude for the long overdue sunlight. I've put years of work in to tell the truth, Cenk, and if enough of us get loud, we can bring some justice to some workers who had their story erased by a union-busting boss determined to keep the dark secret of his true character in the dark. You are the sunlight bringer. That must be so weird for him. Thanks for the info, Hank. Couldn't have made it through without you. I sent him information that he, used. I've been with my head buried in these catacombs for a long time. You bury your head in like barrels and sand and not okay. I've been in the catacombs, in the dusty tombs, blowing dust off old books, making wax candles out of mummy limbs. Okay. All right. So my struggles with this whole thing, and then suddenly this man shows up and opens up a huge hatch and he brings sunlight. He's got the power. And I'm just like, I hissed at first. I said, what is this? Oh, and then I felt the warmth, and flowers sprang, blossoms bloomed, leaves unrolled. Cam James, the light bringer, has arrived. So after he posted these Dr. Richey videos, which of course, people caught pretty fast. He's got these two right here. Let's switch over to the bigger one, huh? Does that work? Shrimp Squad's still on. I think we all like the Shrimp Squad, don't we, everybody? And so Cam's videos, both about Dr. Richey, who is one of the TYT's hosts. He's like the middle of the day host. You got the John Idarola mornings, the Dr. Richey lunchtime, and the Cenk Uygur afternoons. And turns out there's this whole world of degree mills and fake diplomas, and Cam seems to have had quite a deep dive into what was going on. I made a long video here on YouTube, on my channel, somewhere over here, about the whole thing right here. You are being sued. So as you can see in my thumbnail, Cam's first video prompted a response from Dr. Richey, although he thinks that he might have prepared the response before he saw the video because he had sent them like a 48-hour notice that he's posting something. And because in Cam's second video, which he turned around in like a day and a half, or he was fast. This guy's quick. Cam, you're supposed to take 3 years and go into horrible poverty to make a video. What's wrong with you? Do it right, buddy. Dr. Cam said in the second video, that's the one where he's wearing that blue hat, where he seemed like Dr. Richey hadn't seen the first one. He just like went through a bunch of his air quote degrees. And then Dr. Richey posted the second video, the fourth in the series of these two, and said you're being sued, and then deleted those right away. They're played in this video here. I posted them on Twitter, and so they're the internet has a long memory. Much like the elephants upon which Cam James, the sunlight bringer, rides when he travels across unholy lands to deliver radiation. Radiation's not a bad thing. See, that's something you can say, and then it's not okay. It's just in a scientific sense. It's all, everything is okay. Never mind. Sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I'm okay. So This was very dramatic and very fascinating to watch and to read the comments. And I didn't have much of a thoughts about Dr. Richey beyond the, as far as this overlaps with my project, it relates to like whether a media company should, first of all, address a controversy or not. My lawyer, Barbara Streisand, would have a lot to say about that. And the concept of truth and honesty and credibility and misinformation and how easy it is to prove or disprove something and what sorts of good faith or bad faith should be offered to people based on various reasons. It does seem like most of Dr. Richey's degrees aren't really legit and that there was a lot of deception going on in terms of his actual education. I would hope that, and I make this promise, that if eventually this thing shakes out where it's proven that Cam was wrong or the other people making videos about him were wrong. I know this guy named Nate the lawyer who's doing stuff. That guy gets a lot of views on his videos for that. But, I think we all should issue corrections after much more expertise is brought to bear upon this whole thing. But he's got like Juris Doctorates and PhDs, and he invented a quantum neuralizer helmet that just fixes Alzheimer's. So, and as I've said, and then we're going to get to the TYT video. My brother's a neuroscientist, a proper actual professor, Dr. Chris Thompson. He actually does YouTube where he argues with cranks about evolution and shit like that. He's got more subscribers than I do, son of a bitch. Of course he does. He's going to jump on a video with me, and we're going to go through the neuralizer, the quantum Alzheimer's helmet. My brother's been publishing in proper science papers. He's got one PhD. It took him like 11 years. He had to do 2 or 3 years of like postdoc after he got the PhD just to become a neuroscience professor. And so he's been teaching neuroscientists to be neuroscientists for 20 years now or so. So he's qualified to make some commentary about the quantum neuralizing helmet Alzheimer fix. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. We might even take a look at his research paper too, because there's one paper from Dr. Richey that's been going around as well. So, all right, enough about that though. Because of Dr. Richey, though, Cam now made the Young Turks video, and we've got to watch it. We're going to just watch the opening here. I've scrubbed through. You can see that that's my winners and losers here, along with Dan from the internet, who I've been on his show, Power Report. Check out Dan's show, Power Report. I know he's part of this. We're not going to sit here and watch this whole thing, obviously, but I know that there's the union stuff here, exploitation and unionization. So we're certainly going to go through this. I might pick another spot too, and maybe on another day we'll revisit this because it's certainly going to make some waves in the next day or two or a few weeks or so. 31,000 views in 7 hours. It says right now. I'm going to reload and see where it is at. Uh-oh. We're going to, fucking ad. 31,000 views in 8 hours. It didn't update at all. Feels like that should have changed slightly. There's something goofy about that. It wouldn't go from it wouldn't be 0 views in an hour if it got 31,000 in the first 7. Big numbers though. I mean, that's just part of a day. Oh, I backed up and now there's more ads. These YouTube ads are like little torture tests. It's just so freaking annoying. I thought you thought, okay. Smart opening. I do stuff like that on TikTok. I like to be a little clicky, like at the thing, and then it brings your attention. I'm just trying to back up all the way. So, without further ado, here's Cam James, the opening of his video about the Young Turks, a throne for fake progressives.
Hi, I'm Cam. I used to spit, now I make flicks. The first 2 parts of this series were about the many suspicious degrees of Rashad Richey, the supposedly progressive host of Indisputable. Since Richey announced an impending lawsuit in his most recent response video, while looking like he was about to cry.
But I see now that a part 2 and other people are grabbing the commentary. Well, it has to be done.
I figured making another one about him alone would be overkill. This one's about the network itself, specifically their leaders, Cenk, that's how the founder of TYT, Cenk pronounces his name, by the way, and the self-labeled politically homeless Anna Kasparian. Though they've both done a lot of great work in the media for decades, and there's no way I can erase thousands of videos pushing progressive messaging and causes, many people on the left see them as deeply compromised, in more ways than one. I'm also not letting their COO and former CEO, Jack Gerard, off the hook either. You don't get to fade to black just because you ain't a celebrity. Assuming all of y'all have heard of this YouTube OG news organization would be a mistake. So let's run that down real quick. The Young Turks is an American progressive news network founded by Cenk, Ben Mankiewicz, and Dave Koller in 2002.
Dave Koller.
They actually launched on Sirius.
I gotta just, I know I can't. You guys might know, I worked at the Young Turks between 2013, or off and on between 2013 and early 2020. Was a paying fan for 4 years before that. I know people on my channel are tired of me saying the same shit over, but we might have some new people around these days. So I have a deep history with this company. I'm a red shirt. I'm a red shirt as a Star Trek reference. The guys that they murder instead of killing Captain Kirk, they kill the guy next to him. So I've seen and experienced a lot of this, what he's talking about here, in a much more direct way than others. And another thing that jumps out at me too is seeing all these people out in the world that have been fans of TYT at different stages. They sort of attach to it and then kind of detach to it, like a penguin escaping an orca on a boat. That doesn't make sense. Okay. So people have different storylines and different timelines for that. And I just happen to be very much like everybody else, but in a much longer, more protracted kind of way, because I was a big fan. I came out of TYT's audience. I believe in the principles of honesty and integrity, defending your friends, speaking truth to power, all the things that I'm trying to uphold in my film. And the behavior I'm calling Cenk out for, that he was not living as an employer at the Young Turks. I don't know why this world makes it okay to disrespect workers more than anybody else. Because if he'd done it to a stranger, it would have been like a big scandal. But your employee-employer relationship, probably because it has a foundation in slavery and in feudalism and in exploitation and in the ways that the owner class of society has always ruled over the rest of us. Anyway, just to say this, I want to say
satellite radio.
Hold on, I'm going to back up 5 seconds. Here we go.
And Dave Koller and
I were buddies. I love Dave Koller. I miss you, Dave Koller, if you're watching this. I miss Dave Koller. He's such a nice dude. I really had a lot of nice times talking with him and playing tennis. I think I beat him once. He's a good guy. He's got that like wiry body speed. Obviously could outclass me, big dumb oaf who doesn't play as much. But yeah, very good at chess. Just a real authentic and good dude. And by the way, Dave, I don't actually think you're a coward. I just think you should talk. You should live your principles too. Come on, man. You know I'm right. Dude. Take me out for Chinese food one of these days, would you, Dave? Let's live old times. Yeah, and I knew Ben Mankiewicz too at the office. He's best known for being a host on Turner Classic Movies. His dad wrote, or his uncle or somebody wrote Citizen Kane, and I was also like some sort of political advisor. So he's got some kind of connections, or at least that's the type of family he comes from. So yeah, but these guys started early on, way back. So it's cool. He's giving a little history lesson. Yeah, let's just keep going. So, all right.
In 2002, they actually launched on Sirius satellite radio in the early days, then hopped on YouTube and Twitch when those platforms rolled out. Anna worked her way into a partner position fairly early on, and even took over editorial control after Cenk became a politician. TYT is co-hosted by Cenk and Anna on the flagship broadcast, with a gang of shows targeting different left-leaning demographics. A variety of hosts anchor those shows, including our best friend, Rashad. I hear everybody loves John Iadarola and The Damage Report.
There is not a pure soul at the network than John, I'll be honest.
I love to hear it. I've heard great things about sports and politics commentator J.R. Jackson, OG news anchor David Schuster, and I've heard of Nina Turner through the grapevine. Everybody else doesn't ring a bell, but they got a lot of shows, bruh. At any given time of day, one of their shows is live, which seems like it was the whole goal of building so many spinoffs in the first place. I interviewed Dan Evans, aka Dan from the Internet, a former producer and guest host for the Young Turks, and collaborated with their former editor, writer, and co-host, HankThompson, who's been eyeballs deep in his own Exposé, covering the scandal around TYT's union-busting saga, called Tell the Truth Cenk. I'll be including...
Oh, man. Yes, sir. Nipples deep, I'd prefer you use, not eyeballs, because that would mean I couldn't breathe, but because my nipples do ingest air. See, why did I? Okay, sorry, guys. This is the way to not do it. I can't help it. That's amazing. Yeah, I sent him some stuff about it. I sent him some information that I had, available, and all this research. I'm so glad that it's getting used and that people are seeing it. Yeah, and I do actually want to just rewind that. Let me go.
On TYT.
That's me on one of the post-game shows. I would do the occasional Friday show. Loved it. The camera loves me. Let's be honest. I mean, look at that skull. Look at that beautiful head. Look at that gorgeous brain. I mean, it's not the brain inside. It's more just that, like, there's just nothing wrong with that skull whatsoever. My mom had the biggest cervix, and that's just so far been the peak event of my life. Unfortunately, was my lucky break with the size. Okay, so okay. That's Malcolm Fleshner in the middle. Steve O, former executive. He was also a Jimmy Dore co-host when they did Aggressive Progressives. I was editing that when they finally ended that relationship and canceled it. And when you say shows get canceled at networks, sometimes that can be kind of a dramatic, like, hard cut. But oftentimes shows just sort of peter out or die off, or something, other opportunity takes people's attention. It doesn't carry the negative connotation that it does in other contexts, I would say. It kind of depends. But I had fun doing these post games. I really did. I remember I would put so much effort into it. I actually created an intro for space news with Hank and Dave. If I can find it, I'll edit it in right here.
Use the buddy system. Yay! Freedom! Yay! Dave Koller.
Hey, Hank here from the editing chamber. I turned the sound off because I used a song that probably isn't clear now. It's like a 80s retro wave kind of riff. Space sounds, rocket noises, whoosh whoosh. Fun little intro, right?
Use the buddy system.
And it's super fun. I might have had to mute the music though, just to be totally safe here. So I would put a ton of heart and energy into getting ready. It took about an hour and a half, maybe. I would sort of knock off the work I was doing to give myself like 20 or 30 minutes to read some of the stories we had prepped or something. So all told, doing that. And I remember one day the head of programming, Judith, who is shown in the documentary briefly, she knew I was doing that. It wasn't like it was every week, and it wasn't chewing up all but, an hour and a half a week if I did it that week. So and I did a lot of work at home for it. She kind of asked me if like I'm clocked in while I'm on, and I was like, I really loved it because I'm a stand-up comedian. I did comedy, and of course I would rather sit and be funny and goof off at a desk than edit a goddamn video. Who wants to move a mouse around all their goddamn life? I mean, I have, and look where it's gotten me. It's miserable. So I'd really cherish this time, and I was willing to do it for free. And I even told her, I was like, oh, I can clock out if you want. I mean, I don't know. But keep in mind, during this time, I'm not getting benefits. I'm making $21.63 an hour, and they're not paying me any benefits. First as an independent contractor, and then as a part-time worker. These are the employment conditions. When I say part-time, I mean on paper. I was working 40-hour weeks, but on paper I was called part-time. And no benefits. And so like, I'm just like, are you serious? Like, you guys are worrying about the $31 I might get paid to prep for a half hour and then to talk on camera for an hour for one of your shows that goes up on Friday. That's like a looser kind of, because like most of the post games Monday through Thursday would have been like the main hosts. The Friday post game was kind of like the main hosts don't want to screw around on Friday night evening. Everybody wants to go home a little early. So so it was kind of like the B team, which is great for me because I'm a total C team guy, and loved it. In fact, I still wear that hoodie over there, and I've gotten too fat for that shirt. But I look back at those days and I'm like, man, I didn't need to have body image issues. I could have gotten laid so much more. Look at me. I was hilarious. I still am, but now I'm a big blob. Oh, hold on, baby. I got to put on my wrist braces. I fucked up my wrists, as I tell you about. Okay. I'm losing the plot here. But I just was like stunned. I was just like, you're really like worrying. You're really like griefing me about whether you spend $33 so one of your workers can do a show. Like, what? I couldn't believe it. I was just like stunned. I was like, I guess I won't do it. I mean, I don't mind clocking out. It's not like I was interrupting my editing stuff. It's not like I was delaying. Things were getting delayed because I had, lost an hour and a half of editing. It's just bonkers. Kind of gives it a sense for how, like, the kind of respect that was communicated, and maybe the sort of pressures that Judith was under. I'm not necessarily even saying it came from her, but she was obviously reacting to, or, operating with some sort of directive or some sort of priority set that was coming from the management. There's all sorts of stories like that we could all tell. I hope my rambling isn't getting too annoying, guys. Sorry about that. But then there's one more here.
Who's been eyeballs deep in his...
Okay, that's Jimmy Dore's studio. There's Jimmy Dore's hand. This is the only time on the Jimmy Dore show where you can see me. This is in the Indiegogo video that we made to raise money for his channel. So yeah, this is, I hung these sound panels on the wall because of my panoply of very impressive skills with screwing things together and glue. These don't have glue. But so I did some work inside there and was a big part of this operation. I would sit at this. That's my laptop, actually. Now that I'm seeing it, it's under the bed. It's old. Rubber like turns sticky. Like rubber grip type. Like it gets sticky over the years. What the? So I would run sound. I would type notes for publishing. I would type notes for editing, and then I would take a video card home and do a bunch of editing in the morning because it would be like too late by the time I got home, and post things. So I did a hell of a lot to bring this channel to life in late 2015 and then 2016. And then I was no longer on the show at the end of 2016 for various reasons. I'll save those stories for my memoirs. But right after I left is when they got a second camera. So this is the only shot of me on the film. And if you watch it carefully, what's the joke here is that I'm pulling something out of my belly button and sniffing it. If it even, go back 5 seconds.
Former editor, writer, and co-host Hank Thompson.
There we go.
Who's been
He called me a co-host. That's I guess it's fair since I did do some hosting, I suppose. But yeah,
balls deep in his own expo.
Look, here, smelling something out of my belly button.
Jose, covering the scam.
I think I can go back one frame. Yeah. Yeah. Ugh. But it wasn't so bad that I recoiled. It was just more like, I got to look at it. There wasn't anything in my fingers. We were doing a bit. Jimmy's a comedian. I'm a comedian. We did 2 takes. And I chose to use the one where the acting was more subtle because that makes it more believable. That little green thing right there.
Is this Hank?
Here it is. This is a little pouch for video cards. That's what it does. It's like it transports video cards. And a hot tip, I added some Velcro tape to the USB reader, although it's seen some rough days since it's all busted. But a little Velcro, and it sits inside there, and I had it in there. Yeah, that's the thing. That's how I would bring back all the footage. Hot tip for y'all for 2016. That's kind of just crazy. It's just nuts. Man, God, I got to lose weight so much. So, and very interesting stuff, though. Let's keep going. Sorry, I can't. I'm very impulsive and have terrible impulse control. Okay.
In the scandal around TYT's union busting saga called Tell the Truth, Cenk. I'll be including snippets of that, but over an hour of it is available on YouTube right now. And they're previews, but incredibly solid. Both of them reached out to me when they heard I was covering this, laid out some pretty strong evidence in Hank's case, and some important background info in Dan's case. I also reached out to former TYT contributor Jeff Wiggins from We Gon' Be Alright, who linked me to the videos made by other former contributors discussing why they left, or, in the case of Francesca, got banned by TYT. You'll see clips from them throughout this piece as well. I'll be clear right now that I'm not attacking anyone. My constructive criticism has nothing to do with the network's contributors, producers, writers, or on-air talent beyond Cenk, Anna, and Richey. After reviewing all the evidence, my conclusion is that despite all the measurable good this network has done for progressive causes, representing one of the strongest checks to Republican media dominance over the past 20 years, their corporation is losing favor with their left-leaning fan base for very clear corporation-related reasons. The core values listed on the Young Turks website are not consistently supported by the actions and words of their leadership. And the sum total of these actions is much more reminiscent of naked capitalism than it is progressive. For the purposes of this video, here's the definition of progressive straight from the U.S. State Department. Progressives are, quote, interested in furthering social and political reform, curbing political corruption caused by political machines, and limiting the political influence of large corporations. Rashad ain't off the hook either. We'll cover his past affiliation with conservative figures and wild statements about progressives in one of his dissertations. But I gotta light up his employers first for me to make this point effectively. Let's pay the bills, then get to it. Shout out to my...
He's such a good communicator. I just wish I had whatever it is that makes you just say the words the thing you're trying to say and move on. How do you do that, man? Do you teach? Do you have lessons? Can I buy a course? But yeah, he just says it. It's great.
My longtime sponsor.
So let's jump ahead. Sorry. Well, okay. Give a sponsor some flour. All right, so let's do it.
For making these investigations possible. I'll keep it quick.
Aura. Support Aura, everybody. They sponsor
this
Cam James, and he does good work. Okay. And this man should be making himself a nice living off of his efforts. So the name controversy. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. There's a lot of that. All right. So here I think we get to Dan. I'm tempted to just sit here and watch it and record myself and then edit. I think for the purposes of my recording right now, I'm just going to jump ahead. But of course, very, very, very interested in just watching it later on. So exploitation and unionization. So let's back up 5 seconds here to see the transition. 5 more. Oh, that went the wrong way. 5 back. So, okay. This is where we get into the stuff about the unionizing, which is going to feature my production.
Out this obvious conflict with their progressive ideals. Cenk and Anna are putting their comfort above doing the right thing. This is what's called a theme.
Oh, son of a fucking ads. These goddamn ads. Yeah, but so far I'm impressed. So, I don't know as if I'm going to withhold that later on. Why did I say so far? But, thoroughly enjoying it. And his videos are very well made, well edited. Good decisions. Let's see. Here we go. Part dos.
That was the pay with TYT.
No one will say it's great. I will say Hassan has previously talked about being underpaid at TYT, and I'll even contest to that because, funny enough, I was paid more than him.
Wow.
So
that says a lot by itself. Yeah.
Baby, I wasn't like family with Cenk or anything, but because I was such a young kid and because I'd shown such interest at a young age, Cenk sort of protected me in a lot of different ways.
Your uncle was letting everybody steal your sales deals too.
That's
his
true.
uncle would like let him massage a sales deal to the last thing, then someone would swoop in and close it and take the commission.
Objectively, Hassan was like a host. He would leave, especially near the end of his...
That's from the Chuckle Sandwich podcast. Hassan also says that his uncle... his first year salary was like $21,000, which this is an assumption that because I was working at the Young Turks at the time when Hassan first showed up, and so way before he did any content at all, and when he was in that stressful job trying to do sales or something, drum up sales, and I was doing a variety of different jobs at the time for the company roles. He seemed really stressed out. Mainly is mostly what I picked up on. But I didn't talk to him directly about his income or anything. But I'm assuming that $21,000 was plus commissions, probably. Like, oh, you had a sales job, this was some money, and then you can earn more. But as we saw, Will Neff is that dude who is on one of Hassan's podcasts. I think he has his own streams and shit. Uncle Cenk was robbing him of his sales commissions, and he said so. So, in that same video, which we might see, he talks about how Uncle Cenk skirted labor regulations, which is fascinating. And that's also stuff I'm including in my upcoming mini documentary, Cenk's Personal Dealings, about the Jubilee appearance and the evidence for the union busting.
Time at TYT, he would leave and start doing his Twitch streams. He would basically come in, do the script we worked on, leave, and then, that was it. I'd be there producing 2 or 3 shows, so like, I better have been paid more. But, that's...
I've heard that, and I think I've even heard Hassan say it. This isn't like internal rumors, stuff public, that his pay that year was, to contrast, so because his first era before Bro Tips was like 2014, and then I know Dan's not just only talking about 2019, but during the year we were starting the union was 2019. I was editing some of Hassan's videos. I wasn't his primary editor. I was Francis Maxwell's primary editor, both doing the breakdown video. So it's very similar style. So as a backup, I did some of Hassan's stuff. And so we would text like stuff, and he would come in. He seemed like he was kind of in a rush. He might check in with the editor a little bit. Then you'd get the footage and his script, and then you'd have to like match up some of the visuals that were requested. You'd have to go find them through links, and then, edit them to the video as it was shot, do a bunch of jump cuts. We added some Mogurts, which is like an After Effects thing for filling in repeated elements with new information and just other things, and just sort of stylize it and make it sort of seem like a, ongoing thing. And those were very successful on Facebook for some time, and that blew up. Hassan talks about it on the Better Bad Ideas podcast with Sean O'Brien, in terms of how that IP was not under his control, and that was radicalizing for him. He didn't like that. He was just sort of had this. It sounded like he had more ambitions to do other stuff, but Cenk didn't really treat him with the respect that would have driven him to keep doing that. And so he was doing Twitch. I'm pretty confident he was making, and I've heard him say, just to finish that last thread, is that his pay was about 60 to or 65,000 that year when he was a I think that's probably what Dan is referring to in terms of time period. When I said the 21,000, that would have been like 2014. So that, because his job had totally shifted by the time 2019 comes around, just so I'm not trying to confuse those two timelines, those two times. But 60 is what I would have been thrilled if I was making 60. I made 43 or something with overdrive. What the fuck? Overpay. Why can't I think of that word? What's wrong with me? Overtime. Jesus Christ. And because I was technically an independent contractor, according to the paperwork, the HR person once told me I wasn't even supposed to get overtime. And I was like, so the editors got a different kind of pay grouping or pay package or something, because the workday was roughly 10 to 6 p.m. If you did like main show editing, you'd work till about 6 p.m. or so. But you might need to stay later because there might be technical stuff, or you might just be more things to do. And it was sort of understood that you would be willing to push it till 6:30 or 7, and if they knew that for some reason it was going to go late, they would have scheduled that ahead of time, and you could volunteer to do special program. Like it was not like that wasn't bad part of it, but that meant that you might not guarantee to just stop at 6, right? Usually it would go past that. So you'd get overtime for those hours. And but an independent contractor wasn't supposed to receive overtime, although they still paid me overtime because I wasn't ever I was functioning as an employee the entire time. Regular company business and company property under company direction, under company supervision, and standard stuff. And the job that I filled, the role, someone internally moved to a different place, vacating the video editor job. That they were an employee. They were classified employee on Friday. Then I showed up, and they're calling me independent contractor. And that's sort of the beginning of this whole saga. I was desperate for the work, but part of me kind of wishes that it never happened, because I wouldn't have wound up on this crazy timeline that I find myself here, where I'm making a union busting documentary. So I actually asked somebody about this pay. So my hourly rate was $21.63 an hour this entire time during my second, time at the Young Turks between 2018 and 2020, early 2020. I was paid less than every other editor, even though they had me classified independent contractor. Normally you'd make a lot more if you're just a 1099 outside worker who's brought in for a special project. Yeah, I would, should have gotten 40, 50, 60 an hour, because you got to pay your own taxes, and it's just a different way of doing it, even though that would have been still somewhat inappropriate. But on top of the no benefits, I was also paid less per hour than everybody at $21.63, and not by much. So you got professional video editors living in Los Angeles making between $21.63 and within a few bucks of that, somewhere around there. Not a lot of pay. I remember talking to someone else at the Young Turks, who was experienced with the company and stuff, but they weren't totally up to speed on how everything went down. And we were talking about that, and I said, yeah, it was kind of low. Like, and they knew based on intervening information, if that's the right word, I don't think so, that it would have been low, and so they were going to guess low. And I said, well, just guess what you think I was making. And they're like, okay, all right, 30. So the low guess was 30. I would have felt wealthy if I was making 30. And when we I wasn't planning on being laid off a month before the union came forward. So I was anticipating it being pretty stressful, but that they would say yes to the union, and then we'd get raises, and I would get benefits. We would sort out my situation. I did actually, just so people know, I did finally get benefits after 12 months of this job when they hired me for the third time. Why did I move my hand? Hired me for the third time. So for 2 of those 14 months, I did get benefits, just so it's understood. But my hope was that I would get bumped up to like 24 an hour, 25 an hour or something like that. We weren't going to, you can't squeeze the company to the breaking point when you're a union. You have to do it within the context and the material reality of where you are. And Cenk's anti-union emails, which you can read here on the Tell the Truth Cenk sources section. Scroll down here. They were leaked to Alex Thompson of Politico. These, in them, he even says at one point, that this might destroy the company if we have to pay union rates and we can't afford it. And it's very classic union busting stuff. And of course, that was not true. It didn't destroy the company. Unionizing the rest of the Young Turks would actually fix the company. And that's on you, John Idarola, JR, and Dave Koller. Unionize the rest of TYT. Live your principles. Come on, guys. Do it. Okay, back to Cam and Dan.
That's all to say that it was under market rate for probably the job I was doing, but in the world of digital media, it wasn't obscene. There are other people who were definitely getting paid under market rate, and I think there were some before the union efforts. I remember hearing some mutterings over some people who were working who eventually started forming the union. So like editors, studio technicians, anyone who would be covered under IATSE, they were talking about being like legally underpaid the like California minimum wage for a salaried employee. So I was aware that those kind of things were happening even before 2020.
I had this IP, this intellectual property of the show that I like built out of the for free that I did because I wanted to do it on the side. It's something I wanted, and I knew they were not going to.
I'm sorry. I do have to comment on what Dan said. I know this is annoying to let that play, but he said something about minimum wage under salary. Now, that wouldn't have been my situation. I think he might be referring to, and I'm speculating, the first attempt at unionizing started in 2018. So I wasn't at the company at that time. It was, during one of the breaks between. I went back to the TYT in late 2018, but this was like spring. That's when IATSE was first contacted about it. And emails proving this, because it was a paper trail, not just their word, were shown to Alex Thompson for the Politico article. So there's like not just the workers' truth, the voices and credibility, but there's also like literal evidence that shows that the union began in spring of 2018, like late spring, I think. A full 18 months before Cenk became a politician, which is very important if you already know that they told their audience that the reason the union started was because of his political campaign, and outsiders, his political enemies, started the union to harm his run for Congress, which is BS. Anyway, all right, this is fascinating. Okay, so let's jump ahead a bit more, and we'll start with Haas here. He's talking about his IP. I had referred to this a little earlier.
This intellectual property of the show that I like built out of the for free that I did because I wanted to do it on the side. It's something I wanted, and I knew they were not gonna originally they were not gonna let me do it unless I do it for free, which is kind of lame.
And this is your uncle's company.
Yeah, it's my uncle's company. It got very popular. And instead of giving me additional funds to be like, here, let's build out the show more, let's give you a writer, because I did this in the supply closet, basically. I put a green screen up there and I started filming myself. They were like, oh, yeah, we're going to take this IP and we're going to give it to all the other hosts so we can make more of the same type of videos without spending any extra money. And that's when I was like, damn, I have no ownership over this. My uncle was like, oh, this is an opportunity for me to hire someone and skirt some serious labor regulation.
Why is a network that proclaims...
Hassan is finishing a sentence. He goes, because his family, that's kind of what he says. I would love to learn what he's referring to with the skirting labor regulations. I am very curious to see if it was something similar to my situation. Perhaps he was maybe, it seems unlikely that I would have been the only person that Cenk might have classified in a way that allowed him to cut costs of their benefits. I think it's a very, I don't like the framing of saying cut costs. I think that lets them off the hook for what actually it is. I felt like they were stealing from me when I was working there during this time period. It seemed incredibly wrong. It was incredibly stressful. It was really fucking irritating. And I believed that because I was doing the same work as other people, as a professional video editor with 15-ish years experience at the time, I guess 10 professionally, but like way over that in terms of like my total video editing. But anyway, experienced video editor for $21.63 an hour and no benefits, no health insurance, can't go to the doctor, none of that. It was wrong, man. It was super wrong to be treated that way.
Oh my God. Are you actually? Is this one of the hats for real?
And just real quick, if anyone wants to see the claims I'm making, 2 versions, 1 truth, evidence for my claims about the Young Turks here on baldontheinside.substack.com. You can scroll down and look at all this paperwork. We're looking for green. There we are. This is part of that snippet that excludes me from benefits. Get out of the way, shrimp. Get out of the way. You're messing up my video. And, no vacation, holiday, leaves of absence, health benefits, coverage, dental. It covers everything. It covers their ass and everything. 0 benefits. And this is the dude who will scream at the camera how terrible it is when people don't have health insurance. And Charlie Kirk's audience likes paid family leave. Well, Patrick David said he likes paid family leave. It's like, you don't care about it either, dude. You're making people live without it. Not that I was giving birth a lot during that time and needed it. No, I know. But it still would have been excluded from me if I had a partner who was reproducing and needed to spend some time bonding with my offspring. Jeez, man. Just wild stuff though, dude. Just crazy. So yeah, that's that. Let's keep going here. We're gonna finish up through this whole union chunk, and we'll probably call it a day after. Maybe jump ahead once randomly. But okay.
Itself to be the home of progressives, a main supporter of Bernie Sanders and all these other different people try to start doing some union busting tactics that are straight out of the book.
In 2020, Cenk tried to prevent his staff from unionizing, using every union busting tactic in the playbook. This isn't something a progressive does, and it also isn't breaking news. The whole saga has played out across the media pretty far and wide for years now. The union went public on February 12th, 2020, catching TYT leadership by surprise, and I'll let Hank take it from here.
I also want to shout out Hank Thompson.
Hi, I'm Hank.
There
I
we
worked
go.
at TYT as well as for the Jimmy Dore Show in various iterations over the years. I was a long-time paying member before I began working for the company in 2013. As a video editor and lizard massager, I was on...
I got to stop. Okay, God, this is so much fun. I'm having a blast. Thank you, Cam. I love you. Do you need a son? May I be your son? There's me sniffing my belly button.
Show in various
Watch this, though.
iterations over the years. I was a
that. I can fold a fitted sheet. Okay, ladies. Green flag. Look at that busted up old hat. I have it in the closet. It's like a sacred relic. A cursed. It glows with like a little weird green fog, and it just constantly does that somehow. Yeah, we did a thing like this was for an aspiration promotion marathon something, and I was like, I could do a fitted, and we were running out of time. I had to get back to the desk and do some recording or editing or something. We did this in one take. There was a camera person in there, and then there was like the lady that was producing it and stuff, and she was like from the outside, like it brought her in to work on this project, this big whatever it was. She loved me though. I was being real funny, and I nailed it with this whole thing. I did a whole thing about it, ghosts, because you stick your fingers up the seams, and then you just marry pretend they're ghosts and they kiss. That's the trick to folding a fitted sheet. And then when the seams are matched up, you can like flip it over. And we had a problem right here where the table was down, and I wanted to show it, and I could have picked it up and showed it. And we were about to like sort of pause and be like, okay, hold on, let's move the camera, something like that to show it on the table. But I just grabbed the table and picked it up. Because I'm a big, strong, hunky guy with long arms. Look at this wingspan. Look at it. You can't. It's in a tiny frame on your phone. But yeah, well, you can look at it right there. There's me. Yeah, I just grabbed the whole table and lifted it. And the lady goes, whoo, like you could hear her react to it. Like she didn't expect me to do that. Great improv quality. Treat that guy with the kind of disrespect that makes him make documentaries about you. Smart move there, buddy.
Long-time paying member before I'm paying member.
That's Brooke Thomas. She is amazing. She, I think, is a local LA news person. For some reason, they allowed me to get on there. I picked up one of those phones and I pretended to talk to grandma in heaven. Yeah, but she's super cool. She was laid off the same day I was. They were downsizing. And so this is January 7th, 2020. The union came forward on February 12th, 2020. It was her, Hassan, and Francis Maxwell. All three are very attractive humans, and me. And I like to make the joke, like, why did they get rid of their 4 hottest people? And I did it in one of my podcasts. And I used a photo of like my cat at the time, like stepping on my neck, and it was in a lot of pain. But yeah, anyway, they're 3 really hot people. This isn't, I know, but and then me, my idiot. But yeah,
before I began working for the company.
That's Brett Ehrlich there. Obviously, it's important to block out those offensive parts of his body. He's a 3-nip. He's got 3 nipples. Some people just do. Some people just come from lineages where they have had who have produced that much. I kid, obviously, but he was dressed up as like a Cheeto or something, and I needed to test whether this was real cheese powder, and it wasn't. It was some sort of horrible chemical. Watch my face.
In 2013, as a video editor.
As a video editor
and lizard massager, I was on.
All right, sorry. Okay. There's Mariguana, my boyfriend. I used to rub Mariguana all the time. I was part of the group that kind of cared for Mariguana, and I'll give a lot of credit for TYT's management. They're getting their faces are covered in egg today and from this stuff, but they allowed this weird thing in the office, not just this big cage of animal. Like, we did fundraisers for it, and I'm not sure how much of the company money came out of it, but electricity and space, and it was kind of a mascot that we loved and cared for. And the workers who took care of Mariguana, I wasn't there for when they found him in like a cage, like someone abandoned a iguana in a aquarium like near their work, and so they did hey, we got to rescue this iguana, and then they built this like big thing. So yeah, it was really rewarding to be part of that little group, though, that took care of Mariguana. I would get on camera and I would peel off. He'd get these growths on his spines because they don't shed, and so I'd use Vaseline and tweezers. I know it's kind of gnarly, and I'd work on getting them off. I used to work in the aquarium trade actually before the Young Turks ran a fish tank business, so I have a somewhat of a tolerance for disgusting animal filth. But man, you'd rub him. He's got these muscular little arms. I feel like this is what it's like petting a tiny Ninja Turtle. And he would just, he loved it. He was in high lizard heaven.
On the ground floor of this organizing drive.
This Twitter page pops up out of nowhere, right? And it's TYT Union.
It's the opening of the
They
film.
used card check, an election process in which 50%, little help, Bernie.
If 50% of workers in a bargaining unit plus 1 sign a card saying they want to join a union, they will have a union. End of discussion. End of discussion.
End of discussion.
Fine. End of relationship.
Whoa!
After 9 days of silence, the company formally rejected voluntary recognition, saying they were prepared to voluntarily recognize the union, but only after a second election was conducted on terms more favorable to the company. While they wanted people to believe they were protecting the democratic will of the workers, it was in fact, as labor journalist Sarah Jones pointed out, classic union busting. Their statement was, put another way, total
bullshit.
What followed was a period of union busting that seemed right out of the union busting playbook. Every single tactic was a tried and true.
The way the thing comes flying out doesn't have enough motion blur, and it bothers me. So it's just
out of the union busting play.
So yeah, there's a little bit on there, but I wanted to redo this sequence in After Effects because I kind of wanted it to kind of whip out a little bit more realistically, as if Bruce that's his name, right? Shit, my brain is just cooked. Sorry. Bruce Banner, the Evil Dead guy, was actually doing this for real. But yeah, no, I that's one of those little things I wanted to sort of repair. Although, honestly, there's a lot more urgent matters than that one.
Playbook. Every single tactic was a tried and true technique for disrupting.
Little video editing tip. If you do like little noises, like that little tick sound, just change the pitch. It's much easier these days than it used to be. Not that it was all that hard back then, but just a slight variety in sound effects when you do the same sound effect over and over, unless obviously that's what you're going for, but just a little bit of changing. One way to do it is with rate stretching. Changing the clip speed can also change the pitch if you make sure you don't have pitch correction clicked, highlighted there, or ticked in DaVinci. All right, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Solidarity. Save one. Publicly smearing the workers' integrity, intelligence, and motivations by accusing them of being in a conspiracy with Cenk Uyghur's political opponent.
Seriously, go watch that. I've linked it on screen and in the description.
Yes.
We're going to take a closer look at some of the...
Thank you, Cam. Prayer hands emoji. Prayer hands. Thank you, sir. Oh man, look at that. I've already gotten a bunch of new subscribers. Man, this is the sunlight bringer. I so appreciate Mr. James's work here. Wow. Man, I get emotional. I'm not going to start crying. I'm going to try not to. I cry a lot. I cry easily. My feelings are abundant and mysterious, and they well up quickly. Yeah, there goes the autism. So, geez. It's so cool to see that. So let's see how much more there is. There's a lot more detail that I would love to break down with Cam one of these days. Who knows? Maybe I'll have him on my show. That'd be super fun.
Things Anna said that Hank put on screen, then moved to Cenk's statements. Hank and Cenk are different people, by the way. Please pay attention. In these tweets, Anna's going ham on IATSE, which stands for the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees. It's a union representing entertainment workers, like the ones at TYT. Criticizing a union for endorsing someone who seems to not be very progressive is fair game, right? But Anna wasn't doing this out of the goodness of her heart. She was indirectly lashing out at her own coworkers.
While I'm personally supportive of unions,
Right before this, I know you might have already seen it, but a cartoon hand comes out of this tweet and stabs TYT Union in the back. And there's even a shot from behind of the word suspicious on a piece of paper and the knife. And I did that knife. I got to find that knife. All right, hang on. Edit.
I love that. Yeah, Max left.
Okay, so I dug up the artwork for this knife. I loaded up the PNG up here in the browser, but it's not sizing. It's a pain in the butt to fix that. So we're going to jump over to Photoshop in a second, look at that. But first, we'll watch the part. This is still Cam's channel. Then the TYT Union doll or puppet cartoon struggles, like it was holding on to dear life for the rest of this whole scene here. But this is where Anna stabs TYT Union in the back.
3 minutes later, in a tweet that is shockingly not deleted, she questions the motives of the union and plants the dagger of suspicion.
Right Suspicious. So if you if you look closely, there's a TYT logo here on is that the hilt? But yeah, I made the knife look like it has some shading. Yeah, so it says TYT right there on the knife. And it took a bit to get that arm to come out. So watch, this arm comes out.
3 minutes later, in a tweet that is shockingly not deleted, she questions the...
Okay, here we're gonna go frame by frame. I think it's doing it. Is it not doing it? Am I pressing the wrong one? There we go. It's slow. It happens fast because we all know cartoons are capable of super powers and faster speeds than us flesh bodies, us flesh Oh, there we go. There we go. Look, here comes the knife. It's got the paper. It's got the hand. And, you know, it's not perfect, but it works with the sound. It goes whoosh. Yeah, it looks fine. And then the arm retracts to behind. And then when you come here, you see the arm. This is just called filmmaking right there. There's Anna's hidden knife arm behind her tweet. He's going, oh, I've been stabbed in the back with the suspicion. Plants the dagger of suspicion. All right, so let's jump over to Photoshop here. Take a look at the dagger of suspicion. I know everybody's excited about this. There it is. So this is the PSD. You get different layers. This is how Photoshop works. I have it currently like maximized in like presentation mode. So here, maybe we can just do it without turning on the layers. Will that work? No. Come on. Pressing F. Oh, that's because it's accessing the... Okay, so let's turn the damn layers on. And yeah, so here's the paper. There's a paper texture on top of a white blank kind of thing. This is to go into that TYT union. I even flipped it because that's appropriate for the camera angle from behind. There's the union logo. How did I do that? That's probably just a bunch of these little shape things. So yeah, these are just tiny little bits here using Adobe's shape tool, which is very versatile and powerful. If you're good at it like I am, you can select it and hold down Alt and Control at the same time. Double click it and it resets the Bezier curve. At least it did on that one side there. Yeah, so that's kind of fun. Let's undo. And okay, we'll turn off this stuff. Oh god, oh geez, I'm under pressure. There's girls at the lunch table. Here's the knife. I want you all to see the knife. Why don't I just zoom out? So yeah, it's kind of fun. Like a bright white, metal is shiny whenever you're drawing metal. Just add a bunch of white random kind of glare. Doesn't have to be super random. You can kind of follow a logic of a light source if you like. This thing is a shape tool or something, probably originated as such, but you can select the back shape using Control Left, new layer. And then if you want to shade a side of it, since I have a marquee selected, it's easy to just kind of fill in some shade. And let's do a little bit on, maybe there's a pink light or maybe there's a green light on the other side here. So it's getting some green light over on that side of it because it's at a rave where they have purple and green lights. Yeah, the handle, kind of fun. This is not a bad looking knife, the Dagger of Suspicion, but of course it comes loaded with the brand of the Young Turks, the home of Daggers of Suspicion. So yeah, that's kind of crazy. This background is just for color, or just so you're not staring at the normal transparent grid or whatever the hell they call that. So cool. All right, let's go. Save. Definitely not going to ruin the movie. And back to our browser. Shrimp first. Photoshop off. And browser. Yes. Okay.
Suspicion. While I'm personally supportive of you.
Okay, that's my video. We'll go back to cams now. I never even liked my own damn video. What the heck's wrong with me? Guys, like and subscribe, please. As much as you can. Thank you very much. There's the knife. Here's cam. So I think we're getting near the end. We got a little bit more to go here. Obviously, I can't stop myself from piping up.
That's not a good start. This feels like it's done in bad faith. She finishes by calling the situation extremely suspicious.
Why would you criticize the decisions of a union your coworkers are deciding to join, as if that has anything to do with whether they deserve representation or not? You have representation.
As a worker, Anna's had personal experience with how scary asking for a raise can be.
I don't like freaking asking for raises or negotiating. That's why I have an agent. My agent negotiates that stuff for me because I can't do it, right?
So I positioned that thing there to look like a name tag. I don't know if anybody picks up on that sort of stuff. I certainly wasted more time than I needed to on that. Yes, I wanted it to sort of float over and kind of land where she would be wearing like a name tag. If you have to wear a name tag for your job, in most service jobs and sort of things, you probably have a boss that's exploiting you. So she's pretending to be a worker all the time. And she is a genuine worker. She's not management. She even clarifies that in some of her tweets about this a little bit. But she certainly didn't show any solidarity with the unionizing attempts at the Young Turks. In fact, I told her about my working conditions at Beach Day in the summer, late summer or something, 2019. I got there kind of early. She was already there. It was sort of relaxed, and I always got along really well with Anna. We didn't like hang out like as friends. We didn't sort of click on that level, but I always felt like there was kind of a mutual respect and honesty. And she's often she seems to be in her own space in terms of like she's got a lot of pressure and has to get ready for the show, and you know, you can tell, and that's the truth of any place. I don't mean this is about Anna at all, but people have to buckle down and get their work done, and the day would have kind of a rhythm, you know, in the hour or two right before the show. You know, people had stuff to do leading up to it, but everybody really made sure that the, you know, things were ready and, you know, ready to go. And then when the show starts, that shifts the tone slightly as well. You still got a lot to do at that time. And then when the show ends, there's another shift in tone in terms of the feeling of the office. And then things get a little bit more relaxed. So it sort of starts out relaxed, gets intense, the show, things have to be done. And of course, there's other shows and there's other reasons, and people have different projects and stuff. What I just described could probably describe almost any media sort of operation. It's not unique to TYT. But at Beach Day, I was kind of early, and I just remember telling her about like the not getting paid days off and not getting any bonus or benefits or health insurance. And I'm not saying I think she remembers. I don't know. She might not remember. It's fine if she doesn't. It's not like I can just insist that she does, but the idea that there weren't things going on in the company that might spur unionization at a business that attracts movement leftists, people who believe in the right to organize, people who want to expand the circle of liberty, to expand liberate ourselves from the horrors of this anti-human society we live in, people who believe in universal dignity for everybody. And that collective organizing is one of the more powerful tools we have available. Certainly not the only one, but like this company attracts people who might unionize. And there's the idea that Anna was clueless about whether things at the company were happening, you know, in a way that might spur unionizing is sort of kind of outlandish to me. Maybe it's just like the fascist thing with the Young Turks and the Francesca video about the whether Trump was actually going to implement Project 2025. Maybe there was some willful blindness going on. But I thought this was really interesting, though, and I'm glad he's sharing this part. I didn't know what he was going to use. You know, she has a union. She's got a personal union. She's got an agent. That made it easier for her to throw her own workers under the bus, her own colleagues. You know, I've said it already, the show, but like, I'd be thrilled if Anna did some journalism. That's my request. You know, I think she got lied to. That's how I'm going to like wrap it up in the film as far as her role in it, because she has a substantial role, is that, yes, she should take responsibility for failing to do any fact checking, according to me and my sources. No communications or attempt to ascertain what actually happened occurred. So maybe she can prove to me that that's incorrect. And if that's the case, I will retract, and I will apologize and issue a correction about that, because she doesn't deserve to be slandered by anybody for that kind of thing, especially if there's evidence that it proves otherwise. But according to my research, nobody checked into it. And not all stories are easy to fact check, but very few stories are this easy to fact check. The original sources were across the room from her and Cenk. They were a text message away. They could have reached out to me, but they didn't. They weren't interested in telling the truth about what happened. They're covering it up. They're hiding it because of what it actually reveals about Cenk and his actual ethics, the way he really lives and operates. So, you know, they would talk about unions and stuff. And I think I in one of my appearances on the Letter Hack, he brought up like, who was talking about unions at TYT? Where did you guys get the idea? And it was like the point, he was making a point, but he was right on. Cenk, by far the most vocal person about unions was Cenk. There's a shot in the film where I show, a bunch of those things. It's tough to scrub through and find them. It all comes flying by so quick because it's so perfectly executed and edited. Just a heartbreaking work indeed. Let's go play.
So,
well, it's an uncomfortable process for everyone.
And of course, Cenk says, yeah, it's worse. It's hard for everybody. Don't feel something sorry for me, the guy with all the money. I'm just a small bean CEO. Come on, man. It's uncomfortable for everybody. Who gives a shit? You're the one with the power. Fuck off. I'm saying it to all the bosses, not just like, yeah, well, the bosses don't like having to throw people into the wood chipper either. You know, the guy who swings the axe down at the beheading log, sometimes he wakes up in the middle of the night with nightmares. It's pretty much even for everybody involved, isn't it?
She's right. It is the worst. Since very few have a private union, an
Easter egg time, guys. If you notice this whiteboard, a little clapboard, that's not right. Clipboard, that's the, it's not even a clipboard, but it's that size. It's got a little bee telling people to be safe, but you notice the bee has no wings. Maybe that bee learned the hard way, which is why it's now a safety expert. It gives speeches at high school gymnasiums to the students about being safe. Don't become like me, the bee says. Bzz. Don't become a bee with no wings. Bzz. Be safe. See? Red nose. Sorry.
Agent, a company-wide union would elevate everyone out of the
fucking shot took like just forever to get right, to feel right. I even made a point to make sure the light doesn't cross over the gray floor. Like the way it comes up at a straight line off of the bottom there. You can and it sort of blinks. It goes in and out. It's a fading. It's a back and forth. So these purple shaped things are kind of a motif throughout the film. They're the workers, and they're being zapped by the balls of coercion down in the dungeon and throwing their time, talent, and labor up into this, I don't know what you call that, the tower of exploitation here.
Everyone.
This is nuts. I forgot some. That red brick thing, I kind of hate it. It's sort of horrible, but I sort of might change it. But I don't know. It works. So
out of the intimidating subjugation Anna's agent helps her avoid.
Right. That's called having your own personal union. As Hank went on to point out, you're doing this to defend your boss. Now, what did Cenk say about it?
Our relationship got off to a bumpy start in the beginning.
Another one of my fun animation gags here is that I like to just take the fingers. Not that I've done a ton of this sort of work, but I drew that dishonesty horn in Photoshop, by the way. If I think of it, I'll put the screen recording of it on screen right now. Maybe not. But the finger is, what a freakish hand. Think about the physics of that. So he's holding the can, and then the finger goes straight up at a 90-degree angle, and it's about 4 times longer than the other fingers. I feel like, why constrain yourself? It's Photoshop, baby. You can do whatever you want.
As for Cenk, he did a lot more than just speak on the air. And this conflict was a lot more than just a bumpy start. He and TYT leadership spoke with the company's bankroll. I rarely get to say this, but Hank did some of this investigative work for me already.
The other tactics, all documented in these 4 articles, none of which the company has refuted, might seem so familiar because, as NLRB filings would later reveal, the Young Turks hired 2 anti-worker management-side law and consultancy firms. Since the home of progressives is largely member-funded, it stands to reason that the audience deserves to know how much they spent on union busting, if any. How much member money did TYT send to these anti-worker law firms?
For those listening in the car or while doing dishes, he just pulled up the receipts showing that TYT's 2 hired firms specialize in union busting. Here's a notice TYT had to post in their office for 60 days after violating Section 7 of the agreement with the National Labor Relations Board. Remember how TYT leadership said they voluntarily agreed with the agreement and were prepared to accept unionization? All that language is a front. If they wanted to agree to that first majority vote, also referred to as card check, they could have. It was a lie. There's a lot more to this story, but Hank's got y'all covered for that. We got to move on to the next reason I call TYT the throne of fake progressive.
Dude, that's so great. That's so fucking awesome. Thank you, Cam. Yeah, I wish I'd sent him the videos. I mean, he did a lot. He's got a big chunk there. But there's the videos of Cenk lying about being a union buster. I mean, that's the main lie of Tell the Truth, Cenk, is when and why did the union start? Because that's the question that answers what kind of person were the workers working for. I talk about that in the video I just posted. You can go watch that. I previewed the mini documentary, Cenk's Personal Dealings, that I'm making. But the point, the truth that I'm asking for Cenk and Anna to tell is, first, do journalism. Don't just trust me. Look at the facts. Look at the evidence. You don't need to disbelieve the guy you hate. There's plenty of evidence to show you that I'm right, and not, other corroborating testimonies to look into as well. But the truth of it isn't just like, okay, we were a little off. This is actually what happened. Are you happy now? The truth is actually going to show that Cenk doesn't live his principles. That's the truth. That's the truth that we're talking about. The truth is that Cenk actually doesn't believe that people should have health insurance. If he did believe that, when someone at his company working full-time said, can I have health insurance? His answer would have been yes. Cenk doesn't believe people should have paid days off. If he did believe that, when someone who was working full-time for him doing video editing at his video production company asked him for paid days off, his answer would have been yes. I just wanted my $173.04 for my fucking measly wage and not have my vacation home to go fishing with my dad ruined because I'm thinking about how it feels like I'm being robbed even while I'm on vacation. It's time we fucking stand up to these people. This is bullshit. And this is so common, this type of behavior. This is so fucking common all over the world, all over the society. This is the society the boss class engineered. The CEOs of the world built this world so that they could get away with stuff like this. Ruling class impunity is what it's all about. Cenk would probably argue this is small bore stuff. On the single data point, yes. But on the grander data point, it's not even close. Especially in contrast to the sorts of corruption and terrible things coming out of the Trump administration, and I would say even the Bidens. I mean, in terms of war, violence, oppression, and all the other shit. The system itself is what's broken, and Cenk is still a defender of the system.
Wake up! We're making a show, shrimp.
It's oh fuck, my keyboard tray fell out. Oh, God damn it! Sorry, everybody. I got. Okay. I gotta jam it back in. Though here, look, literally the wheel popped off last week. I found this on the floor for the keyboard. I already ordered a new keyboard drawer sliders, but it's annoying. So that's sort of what I'm hoping to model with this project. This is a political act. This is not just disgruntled employee who's good at video editing and is a little obsessive. I was never gruntled, okay? This is a political act. We are standing firm against this bullshit because the thing that Cenk was counting on was for his ruling class impunity to kick in. Me speaking up, stepping out of line, that means that I will pay a very steep price in terms of my employment prospects. That's a huge deal. That's a big thing. We all understand that. You make a stink publicly. There might be other ways where people are, the attention brings, and there might be some benefits to doing this. Maybe. I mean, I'm not saying it's all 100% negative, but in terms of a conventional mode of getting a job, I'm cooked. On top of how my sensory issues and the other ways I am kind of prevent me from being able to do that. So please consider supporting if you can, because there's more to do, and there's a lot more to say. And I do need to get on the other side of this so I can fucking detox from Cenk poisoning, because I'm fucking tired of it. I'm so sick of it. I'm curious if you saw the second part, because there's a whole much more detail about the lawyer thing. Let's just take a quick look at that real fast. I'll just load up 38 minutes.
There you go.
Middle 38 minutes. As I said, I'm a naming genius.
But TYT's paying members would have.
Okay. I love this whole, there's so many sequences. It's kind of a shame that this doesn't have anywhere near the views. It's only 5,000 something in the middle 38 minutes. Are we on screen over here? All right. Yeah. So yeah, here's the union busting law firms. We'll watch this a nice little bit here. Why not? We can wrap up kind of around here. I won't back up. I think that's a good starting back up here. Well, let's go back to the break, to the time code. I think I got to press play.
Preferred their.
Here we go.
The Politico and New Republic articles explained that, despite what Cenk wants his audience.
No.
The feeling.
I remember drawing that printer and that thing. I could find that artwork and show you guys. Might be fun to do videos going through some of the stuff if people request that. I definitely would. Oh, here we go. Okay, that's why I jumped to the wrong spot. TYT's union busting law firms.
The worst guys in America. Let's talk about it. Forgive the presumption, but I'm confident TYT's paying members would have preferred their money go into worker pockets and operating expenses. even cushy executive salaries and lunch budgets, than into the coffers of union-busting law firms. Denying rights is a lucrative business. The Economic Policy Institute reports that the union avoidance industry collects over $400 million annually with massive hourly and daily rates for consultants. Wow, that's quite a day rate. I made $173.04 in a day. Funding the legal infrastructure of capitalist oppression is probably not what most...
This sequence is nuts. These are multiple alpha exports of wiggle effects for the workers, but I wanted to create a sea of workers. So as it goes further back, you have to jam more into it. So there's like maybe 2 or 3 in the front row, and then the second row, and then the third, 4. As it further goes back, it becomes like 12 or something like that. So it's this huge lineup in After Effects 3D space with the coercion ball flying around with the time, talent, and labor. And there's actually even a moment where the coercion ball comes flying by and it increases the time, talent, and labor that's produced. These are just fucking monsters in a castle, and they've got little dials and knobs that they can flip to get us to show up and be like, yes, please, I'm desperate for food. I'm desperate for housing. I'm desperate for basic needs. The fact that we let them regulate our basic needs, the things that we need to survive, that we should be working for. I don't mean everybody, but it takes work. It takes planning. It takes energy. It takes calories. But we could do that in a way where the purpose of it is to provide it with everybody as abundantly as can possibly be made within the constraints of the earth, and factoring in the type of to avoid the negative effects of the terrible pollution crisis that we're doing now that's going to destroy the planet, make it uninhabitable for humans. But the fact that it's for profit, to stand around with a glass of water and say, the only way you get this is if I make money off you getting it. It's evil. And they just fly around these little coercion balls and are able to force us, happy little goblins in the field, to continue our activity, feeding their infinite appetites with the boss guys flying in and out. I think this is from He-Man, this background.
Most TYT viewers expected their money to do? Like this place, Mitchell, Silverberg, and Nupp. They brag about representing the AMPTP, Hollywood's boss cabal, who viciously battle and demean the WGA, SAG-AFTRA, and IATSE, the writers, actors, and production unions that entertainment and media bosses like Cenk would be utterly helpless without. That's TYT's law firm. One of them, anyway. Like all bosses,
here comes the coercion ball.
AMPTP benefits from the structural violence of coercion to gain leverage. Never more clear than when an executive stated they'd let the system force people into destitution, prompting one prominent union member to say this.
The motherfucker who said we're going to keep this thing going until people start losing their houses and their apartments. Listen to me, motherfucker. There's a lot of ways to lose your house. Some of it is financial, some of it is karma, and some of it is just figuring out who the fuck said that. And we know who said that, and where he fucking lives. There's a lot of ways to lose your house. You wish that on people. You wish that families starve while you're making $27 fucking million a year for creating nothing. Be careful, motherfucker. Be really careful. Because that's the kind of shit that stirs shit up. Peace out.
Yeah, that's right, motherfucker. TYT members.
He's on TYT. That's him in the background. That's Ron Perlman. It'd be so cool if someone of his stature heard about this. I mean, obviously, I'd love it if he took a personal interest. I met him at TYT, actually, when he was there, probably for this interview. He went walking by. People were kind of going up to him, and I have gumption, and I'm a dumbass, you know. So I went up, shook his hand, and it was sort of a passing through. It wasn't like I bothered him and like blocked his path or something. But I did tell him that I like the movie City of Lost Children, which is, he was very young in it. It's a French science fiction movie. You should look it up. Don't even read about it. Just start watching it. Fascinating, weird, crazy movie. Anyway, he didn't. I doubt he remembers me. But man, I'd be so thrilled if somebody, Hollywood, I would love it if the unions themselves said, hey, one of our people, even though I'm not in a union, I had to start one, but I'm not in one, said, this is a project we're going to support. This is a project that we want to get more attention on because this is going to be useful for us and this guy deserves our support. It'd be so wonderful if a champion, someone of a bigger, the people with more fame, more money, obviously they have more pull. Someone like Ron Perlman would be so cool if he said, yeah, wow, this is crazy. This company really doesn't live their principles. And I'm embarrassed that I ever shared a room with this guy who does union busting, because he clearly meant what he was saying. I think you had to take that down too.
Deserve to know how much they've contributed to this anti-worker industry. Or maybe it's totally fine that the home of progressives helps fund
the worst guys in America.
And anyway,
syncing on the lips were way off on that one. I'll fix that. I did this Yelp joke here, kind of bullying, didn't work. I, recreated the graphics with some website screen grabs, but you have to like modify in Photoshop then. So yeah, let's finish it.
They lost. It was all a waste. Worse than a waste. Disaster. Eesh. Get that 1 star on Yelp there, buddy. You got hosed. A different decision would have saved Cenk so much trouble. Me too, by the way. Honestly, it would have spared me from having to make this goddamn awesome documentary.
It's a very awesome documentary. We'll finish this and then I'll jump back to that Haas thing. I want to share
This
something.
lesson wasn't known before Cenk pulled the lever is a complete mystery. Apparently they don't teach these kinds of things at the Fancy Lad finishing school he is so proud to have attended.
Look, I went to the top business school in the world, so they're not going to get anything past me.
Hey, Genius Factory. Here's a headline for you.
Just a terrible decision. Just one of the all-time worst business decisions in history. Setting aside all the personal feelings and the ego and the other stuff. Why, if you're this fucking clown, and by the way, Dave Koller, you got a tennis ball nose. Easter egg for you there, buddy. Hope you enjoy. It took me a while to make it even look remotely like a tennis ball. It looks like a desaturated lime. I couldn't. I did multiple attempts to make it work. But this clown in his clown nose, who's so proud and so impressive that he went to Wharton, the same school Donald Trump went to, the same school Elon Musk went to for business, that's a sign. That's a red flag. Gee, maybe there's something in the water there at the Vampire Training Academy that he thought that he didn't see the downsides to being a union buster, even if he hated the union and hated the idea and was upset about having to lose a little power to his workers. Even if all that was the case, any businessman with 4 brain cells to rub together would see that it would be bad for their brand. It would be devastating to their political future anyway, if he was considered other political opportunities. That maybe there would be an upside even. Okay, hey, listen, audience, we were surprised by this. We didn't actually want this at first, but I'm a man of my words. I've learned, I've taken in some information. I've said some things in the past that support unions. He's also made comments kind of, but he kind of comes from like big companies should have unions, but the small companies doesn't make any sense. There's a thing called the Digital Post Collective. That is a huge list. It's in the film, but they are a massive, I got the word wrong on that one. It's digital media, digital cultural workers organize. I think Digital Post Collective is a Google Doc that has like information that you can pass that for like pay for different, anyway. Cultural workers organize. These are all small media orgs. Let me change the way it scrolls. These are all small media orgs. This goes back to 2016. This is in the film. So Cenk's argument that a union should only be in a large business is bullshit. Young Turks is bigger than most of these, I would imagine. The Intercept I saw go by. I'm not sure if they're bigger or smaller in terms of staff. Probably bigger in terms of like, people taking them seriously. But this is all small media organizations, and TYT Union is on here somewhere. I think they stopped updating this list somewhere in the 2020 something, 22, 23 maybe. But yeah, so it's total BS. You can have a union with a small organization. You have to work within the constraints that you have. Vox there had a union. Let's see, go down real fast. We'll see it when it comes flying by. Here we go. Hang in there, everybody. Vamp, Anderson Cooper. Vamp, the ball's not dropping. Come on now. I think I missed it. Hold on. Control F. There you go. Okay, I went flying right by it. April 9, 2020. Production and quit moving. Why is it slowly moving? Okay, stop. Production and post-production staff of online news outlet The Young Turks vote 9-6 to unionize with the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, IATSE. TYT co-founder and host Cenk Uygur strongly oppose unionization during the drive. IATSE filed 2 unfair labor practice complaints, including a retaliatory firing allegation. In our decision to go union, organizers stated, "We join the wave of recent organizing in digital media, and we stand in solidarity with the renaissance of labor activism we see now in workplaces of all kinds throughout the country." That's one of the anonymous workers from TYT Union. So I do want to wrap up real fast here with the middle 38 minutes. I want to play this part. I love this sequence. It's one of my favorite bits in the film. Why would you bust a union? What is the purpose? Why would a boss not want a union? There's all sorts of answers to that question, but a guy who was a professional union buster asked that same question, and he talked about it. His name was Martin J. Levitt. He wrote a book, Confessions of a Union Buster, and I use clips of him giving an interview to a pilots association guy, but he also, in that video, it gives a speech. So I use clips from him in this film, as you've seen. And this is where he presents that question, because he said he looked into it. He always was curious why they busted unions. And this guy caused a lot of harm in the world. Union busters are bad people. Union busting consultants are terrible people. As much as we see scabs getting called out for crossing picket lines, those are the desperate, lowly, worker bees of the whole process. The actual villains of the story are the CEOs and the union busting attorneys and consultants that they hire. Those are the bad guys. Some dumpy ass poor person trying to make a living, desperate enough to walk past a union line because they're got hired to work at some factory and they're the scab. They might get their ass kicked, or they might get scorned, or maybe they get through another entrance or something. Scabs will pay a price for doing that. It's kind of the thing. Don't cross a picket line. There's a famous photo of Donald Trump crossing a picket line when he was in the actors union. He went right past, to do some work as an actor during a strike. So there's some nuances to that. And I'll make space for a person who is just trying to feed their family. That's the whole point of the coercion. They make you they force you to make ethical compromises. They force you to do things that might upset your community, such as breaking a strike line or being a scab. But scabs can often pay a consequence, and union busters never do. People who actually do the goddamn pain inflicting on their workers. Union busting works because it's painful. The mechanism for coercing people is stress, psychological and material harm. Cenk has even said, if it was true, people should be angry. And that's why he lies about it being true. But this guy wanted to know, what's it for? Why do these CEOs always want to do this union stuff? I mean, the answer starts sitting right there on screen, so it's a little spoiler alert. But this is one of my favorite sequences in the entire project. Let's go.
In the 20 years that I busted unions, and I'd sit down in the client's office, usually the chairman of the board, the president, or whatever that executive committee or ownership of the company was, and I'd look for the motives in terms of union busting. I'd look for bottom line or profit or cost. I'd look for all these motives. And in 99% of every company I represented, and I can say every company that my former colleagues represented, there was one word that was the motive 99 and 9/10% of the time. And what was that?
Control.
That's right. That's absolutely right. It's all about control. To sit and listen to them whine, it's about control. It's their ego. Because they were taught to believe that when there is a union, even a productive one, even one that is contributing to the well-being, it's a testimonial against their management ability.
Looking right at you, Cenk. Looking right at you, buddy. Stare into the eyes of the demon himself, who reformed himself and then gave speeches and stuff. But this, okay, it's not going back the way I wanted it to. But there you go. It's a testimonial against Cenk's management ability. Now, I assume, although if you ask him, I'm sure he would disagree, as he screamed at Francesca during that one interview about how great of a boss he was. I'm a good boss. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. But aside from, on a bigger scale, say what Martin J. Levitt just described was that the union itself is sort of evidence of management abilities lesser than, maybe it diminishes some whatever narrative or story or delusion they're upholding. But in Cenk's case, which is why this thing is like way above that, is that he hires a bunch of professional storytellers. Like, he hires people who know how to make videos and speak and are hosts, and some of them are comedians, and some of them are video makers, and some of them are all of those things, and treat them with very poorly. Again, not for everybody. Probably some people at TYT who felt totally satisfied with their working conditions. I don't want to try to act like I'm speaking for the entire thing, but my God, dude, like, well, just to protect your own reputation, meet the threshold, the minimum threshold, where people could just be like, yeah, it's fine, not the greatest, but you know, what am I going to do? Complain? Nah, it's good. Yeah, like, okay, I did some work there. It's fine. Instead, he's got a whole cottage industry cropped up around him from former people who are passionate about their politics, who are inspired to speak up and get loud and be annoying, who know how to do it. I'm not great at promoting, but I know how to edit a damn video because I don't have much of a life. So it goes way beyond just the union is the testimony against the management ability. It's that there's lots of other people out there. And I'm so grateful that Francesca is doing what she does. And Ben Dixon has spoken about it. Dan Evans has come forward. Benny Carollo, Jeff Wiggins, other people. I'm sure I'm trying not to leave anyone out, but also, it's a big mess in my brain here. It would have been pretty lonely if I did this and there was no one else doing it. If I was just this one kind of thing. I feel like, in like cartoons where like a island rises up out of the ocean, or a video game, or perhaps reality. And it's like an archipelago of islands of sort of rumble, waves, upset fish, or orcas running, swimming away. And, because there's an island appearing. And then there's like a new island. And in this case, there's like a bunch of them. And my project is just one of them. And Cam James is kind of like a huge boat, because he's not really from the TYT substrate, but he does visit the archipelago. So anyway, okay.
There you go.
This was my idea.
Yeah, I like
to
it.
model it.
Yeah, exactly.
This is going to piss some people off, I think.
I think it might.
Okay, guys, thank you again so much. Go watch Cam James. Let's do a refresh to see how many views we have on this one. It says 26K views, 7 hours. 36K views 9 hours ago. So it's moving. I've gotten a bunch of new subscribers and some comments and stuff. So can't wait to keep doing it. Can't wait to get this thing done. I do find moments of uplift and enthusiasm, and I'm raring to go, but there's a lot of dark sides to this too that I don't share that much as I do actually kind of talk about it, but I don't. I need to get away from it. But the only way out is through. So please go to the website, sign up on the purple button if you want to get emails. I do think I need to add the project update video somewhere in this top screen. I need to change this whole landing page. It's just too long, and split it up. And anyway, yeah. So much more to come, much more to say. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. And, no sweat if it's not. What the? Oh, that's because the keyboard tray is like tilted. That's why the mouse is. You see the mouse just like taking off down the. Yeah. So the goal, I guess, just to say the final thing that I'll wrap on here is that I want and I'm really hopeful we can get here. Is that? Hold on, let me switch it over. Gotta find the right button. There we go. Here on the timeline, the project update timeline, that in summer, I mean, if I really get focused, maybe sooner than then, but this is also sort of pending getting some help with some funds because I need to pay my bills and stuff. And the money I've earned from my little paying jobs isn't going to last me very long at all. Good God. So I'm so fucked. But that when all these blue boxes are combined into one mighty 2-hour film and the 20-minute companion doc is done, and maybe there's another doc in here somewhere. I just, and maybe even a book. Honestly, all the free writing I've done, the script itself, there's a book in there easily. And possibly even like a animated adventure series, maybe one for kids, perhaps even one for old people. A TV show, a dramatization, I would cast, what's his face? Better Call Saul as me for obvious reasons. What a terrible choice. I would, maybe Walter White could play me, say my name. Jesse. That's my Walter White. I'm pretty good at that. But here's what I'm trying to say as we say goodbye. I'm fucking crazy. I get it. We're going to celebrate. We're going to have a party. And what I'm dreaming of is that I'm not the only one celebrating. I want this completion. When we finally get to this, let's turn that one off here real fast. When we finally get to emoji time, when we're blowing on those things and we've got random confetti around our heads with a red traffic cone on our head, and when we blow out a bugle with shit out of it, and then there's a balloon with an impossible bend in its rope, that I'm not alone, that you're celebrating. You're just glad that it's like, for me, it'll be like celebrating surviving cancer, kind of. It'll be like, oh, they finally cut off the tumor. That wretched baby is crawled out of his womb, and his wounds are healing along his thighs from its claws, its talons, its mouth's mouth. Alien reference. But don't let me celebrate alone. We're going to get to the end somehow. But man, it'll be fucking amazing when I finally don't have to think about this shit and move on. Whether Cenk tells the truth or not, because that's not what this is about. This is about the workers. This is about not sitting back and fucking taking it, And it might be cathartic for some people, though, too. If you've ever had a job, if you've ever had a boss you couldn't stand up to, well, with enough attention, Cenk's going to have to look into the camera and tell his audience that he lied to them. We're going to bring him to heel again with the power of solidarity. And we're going to show that it's stronger than they are. That's why they're afraid of it. So don't leave me hanging here, everybody. I don't want to be the only one celebrating. Even, like I said, I don't want you to come over. But who knows what that even shape takes. I'm not even really getting into that, but I would be glad to watch the film with people and share it. That'd be a good stream to do with Cam, actually. Maybe watch part of the second one or something. Anyway, we'll see. I don't know. All right. Goodbye.